Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have an update to share about two of Trump's Capitol insurrectionists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So 32-year-old Zachary Wilson and his wife, 30-year-old Kelsey, are from Missouri. They were both seen on surveillance video illegally entering the Capitol. Zachary entered through a broken window and Kelsey entered through a door that had already been breached by others. Both of the Wilsons were seen walking around in the Capitol for a while, and Zachary was wearing a Trump snow cap. Kelsey was wearing a Trump flag around her neck, like a cape. And Zachary bragged on Facebook on January 6th, because of course he did. He wrote, quote, "First one's in. First thing we found was Pelosi's office." And when someone commented on that post and said, you're lucky you're not in jail, Zachary replied, quote, "I didn't do anything wrong." And that was how it was written, DDN, didn't. However, when he was interviewed, when both of them were interviewed by the FBI on the 18th of January, they denied entering the Capitol. They admitted that they went to DC, that they went to Trump's rally, but they claimed that they didn't go inside the Capitol. So what happened? I thought he didn't do anything wrong. Why would you have to lie about it? Well, Zachary must have realized that he was just busted. He was stone cold busted because 2 days later, in another conversation with the FBI, again, he came clean, sort of. He admitted that he entered the building and Pelosi's office, and he told the investigators that he wanted his voice to be heard because he's a strong Trump supporter. But he still denied that his wife entered the Capitol with him. So he must have realized that people saw his online posts, but clearly he still had no clue that there are cameras in every single area of that federal building. I assume that he also had no idea that the person who traveled with him and his wife to DC had ratted them out. Apparently someone drove to DC with them, and that person told the authorities that the two of them entered the building and that they were in there for about a half hour. But the one thing that Zachary did admit to was deleting his Facebook account. He admitted to the feds that, after January 6th, I took my account down. So for some reason, Zachary was arrested on February 19th, but then Kelsey wasn't arrested until 6 months later on August 18th. Doesn't make sense because they clearly have both of them on camera in the building together. So I don't get it. The other weird thing is that their charges were different. Zachary was charged with only entering a restricted building or grounds, and Kelsey was hit with all four of those basic misdemeanors that I tell you guys about all the time. She was charged with also entering the restricted building or grounds, but then she also got hit with the 2 counts of disorderly conduct and then parading or demonstrating in a Capitol. Well, shortly after that, after she's arrested, she lost her job. She was an elementary school teacher at a Christian school. They fired her following her arrest. And then in September of last year, they both pleaded guilty to that parading charge. So they were facing up to the 6 months in prison, thousands of dollars in fines. But prosecutors, because they didn't commit any acts of vandalism themselves, they weren't violent, they were only asking for 14 days in jail and then 3 years of probation. And the Wilsons' attorneys were seeking a sentence of only 12 months of probation. Well, in court, attorneys for the couple tried to paint them as basically just, these simple people. They got duped by the nonstop white fright BLM coverage on Fox News. They specifically called out Tucker Carlson and his show. And Kelsey's attorney told the judge, quote, "After seeing the video footage showing protesters beating police officers, spraying gas in their faces, screaming obscenities, and destroying property, it made her cringe. She did not witness any of this at all. She is left with deep regret, fear, shame, and remorse." And the attorney also said, quote, Mrs. Wilson, like millions of other Americans, ate up the media coverage of these events in the summer of 2020. She saw the media label destructive and violent riots as mostly peaceful protests, and the protesters praised on national media outlets for their strongly held beliefs. And while most of the BLM protests in the summer of 2020 were in fact peaceful, a report studying these protests found a large number of Americans believe they were not. The report suggests that the disparity stems from political orientation and biased media framing, such as disproportionate coverage of violent demonstrations. You think? Hey, I have an idea. Turn the channel. See what else is on. See what the other side is saying. Do your own research. Not hard. Anyway, the attorney also noted that the Wilsons have received threats on social media, that Kelsey has now been fired from a second job after her arrest. Well, U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta was presiding over the Wilsons' cases, and he asked Mrs. Wilson what she was thinking as she entered the building. And she said, quote, Your Honor, I love my country. Seeing everything over the last year, seeing cities burn and seeing people so divided, I simply got caught up in the crowd. It was a stupid mistake. Well, Mehta admonished her, and he said that what happened on January 6th was, quote, not something that anybody ought to downplay or suggest could be justified by earlier events over the summer. It's really not justifiable. And according to reporters who were in the court or on the line, I'm not sure, Kelsey, had tears in her eyes when she told the judge, quote, I know what I did on January 6th was wrong. We got caught up in everything that had been happening over the last year, and we got swept up in the crowd. And I'm deeply and truly sorry and embarrassed for my actions that day. I've already lost not one, but two jobs because of my actions that day, and my family is struggling. My family is truly sorry for the embarrassment that we brought on our country, and we will definitely pay for this for the rest of our lives. Then she also said that this experience, quote, will undoubtedly be one of the most life-changing things that I will ever go through. So the judge also questioned her husband and his lies about entering the Capitol. He, asked him, why would you lie about it? I mean, why not just come clean? And Zachary told the judge, quote, I just panicked, Your Honor. I just panicked. I was thinking of my kids. I didn't want to lose my kids. So Judge Mehta told him, quote, you're lucky the government didn't charge you with false statements. You could be looking at far worse consequences. I hope you appreciate that. Not that they're charging anyone with that. I mean, one person out of over 700 now is the only one. So the judge also asked Zachary why he thought that he had permission to enter the Capitol. And he said, quote, I was caught up in President Trump telling everybody that this election got stolen, and he had kind of everybody enraged. We didn't even have any idea that we were going to do a march. We thought we were just there for the speech. And then when he said, yeah, turn around and march, and everybody's like, yeah, march. And he'd already had everybody so worked up that when we got up there, I just reacted wrongly. I really feel stupid, to be honest. Zachary also apologized. He said, quote, I cannot apologize enough or express remorse that I have for the actions that day. My wife and I went to Washington, D.C. to hear President Trump and the guest speakers. We had no intention of interfering with the congressional proceedings. We saw the crowd and got caught up and followed them to the building. I'm incredibly sorry for my part in what has now put a stain on American history. So Mehta then told them that he thought they were decent, hardworking Americans, that he thought that they got caught up in something and that, if they could do it over again, they definitely wouldn't. He also sympathized with how they had been lied to. He said, quote, "You were told lies about election fraud, about your country being taken from you." Well, when all of this was said and done, Meta sentenced Zachary Wilson to 45 days of home detention. He sentenced Kelsey to only 30 days of home detention. In addition, they each will be on probation for 24 months. They have to complete 60 hours of community service, and they each have to pay a $500 restitution fee. So I don't know, you guys. Oh, and the other thing I should mention is that he's allowed them to stagger their home confinement so that they both aren't out of work at the same time because they have kids to feed. You know, as I've said before, do people of color get that opportunity? Would that happen with BLM protesters? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. If I'm wrong, tell me. If you know of a case like that, let me know. Drop it in the comments down below. But I don't know. You know, do I think that this is enough of a deterrent for others who might try the coup 2.0? No. But here's where I vacillate. Here's where I feel conflicted. If there are some people who are truly remorseful for what they did, for what they were a part of on that day, if they in earnest accept that they were lied to, that they were played by Trump and others, should we not make an effort to maybe not forgive them, but to just accept their apology? Because if there's no hope, if people believe that they're never going to be forgiven, then why should they even bother to try? Why should they try to right their wrongs? Why should they bother to apologize? You know, I'm sure we've all had an experience in life where you just realize you just can't win, whether it be with a situation or a person, you know, whether it's a job or a relationship, and you just give up, you just walk away. I know I've been there. I'm a pretty damn stubborn person. So I'll try and I'll try and I'll try and I will give my all, probably longer than I should. But when I finally realize, when I finally get it, there's just no hope. There's literally no hope. There is nothing that I can do that's going to change this situation. I walk away and I don't look back. And so, you know, if we keep saying, what's it going to take for these people to realize that this was wrong and start to, you know, come back to reality? This is the chance. This is the opportunity. Nothing like the possibility of being locked up away from your family, away from your children, away from everything that you hold dear, to wake you up and shake you out of a cult coma. So I don't know. Like I said, guys, I am agnostic in some of these cases. So I'll let you know if I hear any more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.